There is a single teaching from alchemy that can transform everything in your life. And when I say everything, I mean everything. What you're feeling today, that quiet exhaustion, that sense of going in circles, that emptiness that just won't go away. It's not weakness, it's the call. The call to awaken a power that has always been inside you but has been asleep. This knowledge didn't come from a coach or some trendy social media fad. It came from the ancients, from the alchemists who discovered that true gold wasn't the metal. It was awakened consciousness. And now that same ancient secret has appeared before you, and not by accident. The question is, will you answer the call, or will you go back to sleep? Because the alchemist's journey starts exactly like this, at a point where the world outside might still seem normal, but inside, something is screaming. Enough. Enough of just surviving. Enough of repeating the same cycles. Enough of carrying pain like it's part of your identity. You are not broken, you are being forged. And this transformation starts here, now, with a single step. Looking within and remembering who you truly are. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. Paulo Coelho. Have you ever noticed how life gives you energy, but not always direction? It's like waking up with 1,000 thoughts in your head, full of motivation to change everything, but not knowing where to start. The energy comes, flows through you, but it scatters, gets lost, and then you feel like you're trying, but nothing really changes. That's where focus comes in. Focus is what separates transformation from confusion. It's what sets a conscious alchemist apart from someone who just reacts to life, because there's no use in wanting to change everything if you don't know exactly what you're trying to transform. The true alchemist doesn't work with vague intentions. He knows which raw metal he wants to purify within himself. He looks at it with courage and says, it's this fear right here that I'm going to dissolve. It's this guilt I'm going to transmute into worthiness. It's this insecurity that needs to turn into steadiness. Without that clarity, there is no transmutation, just more of the same. Have you ever seen fire without direction? It burns, destroys, spreads. But when you place that fire inside a furnace with purpose, it becomes a creative force. That's what focus does with your energy. It channels it, organizes it, activates it, transforms it. And pay attention to this. Life will keep bringing you situations, emotions, challenges. But if you don't have clear focus, each experience becomes just another burden. Now, when you're clear on what is being worked on, everything starts to make sense. Every pain becomes a signal. Every discomfort becomes a mirror. Every fall becomes a tool. The Kabbalion already said, as above, so below. This means that when you align your intention within, the outside world begins to respond. But it doesn't respond to what you wish. It responds to what you sustain, and you only sustain what you focus on. So decide, what part of you needs to be transformed right now? Where is the dense metal that you carry? You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to choose one point, one aspect, one piece of your shadow, because that's what will open the portal to your transmutation. Now it's up to you, because focus is the beginning of power. And when you choose where to place your focus, something magical happens. Reality starts to reorganize around that choice. But then comes the next step. And here's a truth that almost no one has told you. The raw material for your transformation isn't in complex rituals or secret formulas. It's in your emotions. Yes, in the emotions you feel every day, in the anger that rises without warning, in the sadness that weighs silently, in the anxiety that tightens your chest, even in the joy you think you shouldn't feel when everything seems to be falling apart. All of that is alchemical material. And the more intense the emotion, the more potential it carries. The problem is that most people have learned to run from what they feel, to repress, to pretend everything's fine. But the true alchemist doesn't do that. He doesn't fight what he feels. He welcomes it, he observes, and with wisdom, he transforms it. Because every emotion has an energetic principle. Anger, for example, is fire. It can destroy, but it can also warm, purify, move. Sadness is water. It can drown, but it also cleanses, dissolves, prepares the soil for something new to grow. Anxiety, as uncomfortable as it may be, is compressed air, vital energy stored up, waiting for direction. And this story is exactly about that. A young man was walking through a dark forest in search of wisdom. They said that at the heart of the woods there was an ancient tree that spoke to those who were ready. After days of wandering, tired and frustrated, he finally found the tree. And it spoke. You seek light, but reject the darkness that comes before it. You want peace, but run from your own anger. You want healing, but refuse to feel the pain. That's like trying to light a fire without accepting the heat of the flame. Confused, the young man asked what he should do. And the tree replied, gather everything you feel. Take your sadness, your envy, your fears. Lay them all out in front of you as if they were ingredients. And then, listen. Each emotion tells you something. Sadness tells you where there was loss. Anger shows you where there is disrespect. Guilt reveals where you haven't forgiven yourself. Each one carries a key. None of them are against you. They're just waiting for you to listen before you transmute them. The young man closed his eyes, and for the first time, instead of fighting what he felt, he breathed into the emotion. And there, in that moment, something began to change. Not on the outside, but within. This fable teaches what few dare to accept. Emotions are not obstacles, they are the path, but only if you have the courage to face them without getting lost in them. The alchemist doesn't repress what he feels, he refines it. He enters the emotion, not to be dominated, but to discover what it's trying to reveal. So next time anger visits you or sadness wants to stay, remember this. They are not your enemies, they are your allies. They are the raw metal of the soul, waiting for the heat of your awareness to turn into gold. The reaction triad: fight, flight, or transmute. And it's precisely when you begin to listen to your emotions with presence, without fear and without rush, that the true inner laboratory reveals itself. What once seemed like mere emotional chaos starts to show its structure. Behind every impulse, there is a choice, a silent crossroads between three paths that determine the kind of transformation you'll experience. This reaction triad is one of the most practical and hidden keys of inner alchemy. It's not found in superficial books, but those who have studied the cycles of the work know. Every energy, when awakened, demands direction. The first path is repression. In the alchemical process, this is symbolized by the stage of freezing or premature fixation. When the alchemist tries to contain a substance before understanding its natural movement, it darkens, becomes unstable, or is contaminated. This is exactly what happens when you repress an emotion. Instead of allowing it to consciously manifest, you freeze it. And, as in alchemy, everything that isn't moved rots. Repression turns the emotion into an invisible poison that, sooner or later, turns against the body itself, or shows up in patterns of self-sabotage. The second path is impulsive reaction. This is the uncontrolled fire, the so-called black fire of alchemy, which burns the matter before its time. When the ancients said the fire must be steady and gentle, like the heat of a hen warming her egg, they meant that raw emotion without awareness destroys the process. It's the adept who reacts on impulse, who dissolves in anger, who explodes with hasty words or actions. The result? The inner work is interrupted. The substance is lost. The energy returns to chaos. But the third path is the most subtle and the most powerful: transmutation with awareness. Here, the alchemist becomes the observer and the guide. He doesn't extinguish the fire. He doesn't freeze the process. He regulates the flame. This is the art of the cooperation of elements. The emotion is recognized as an agent, a living presence within the soul, not as a mistake. The alchemist feels the anger but doesn't act on impulse. He breathes into it, feels its texture, analyzes its rhythm, and then, with technique and awareness, channels that energy into what needs to be done. In traditional alchemy, this is the moment of spiritual digestion, the phase in which the substance has already been separated, but now needs to be slowly absorbed, transformed through steady heat into something more subtle. It's the moment when the adept remains with the emotion long enough to extract a new vibrational pattern from it. Anger becomes drive to build. Sadness becomes openness to intuition. Fear becomes focus and attention. This isn't a metaphor. This is an internal technique. And it's here that true esoteric practice reveals itself, because the alchemist doesn't seek to eliminate what he feels. He seeks to metabolize, integrate, refine, and that requires presence. It's not something you do only when meditating or reading a sacred book. It's there, in the middle of an argument, in traffic, in the news that throws you off balance, in the emotional trigger that reactivates that old pain. That's where the laboratory lights up. That's why alchemists always worked with the image of the hermetic furnace, a sealed container where everything is heated without escaping. The adept's consciousness is just like that, a mind that can withstand the pressure without exploding, and a heart that knows how to welcome the heat of emotion without getting lost in it. This is the art of emotional transmutation, and only those who accept to stay in the furnace long enough can witness the gold forming in the silence. And as you begin to recognize this fire as living energy, not as a problem to be solved, your perception changes, because anger doesn't always show up as shouting or explosions. Sometimes it's silent. It hides as constant irritation, impatience disguised as productivity, or chronic fatigue that never seems to go away. In these cases, it appears as tension in the body, an inexplicable urgency, a constant desire for something to change, without knowing exactly what. And that's where the most subtle teaching of inner alchemy lies. Anger is a sign that the soul is ready to move something that's been neglected for far too long. It's not about reacting to the world, but reacting to your own stagnation. In some traditions, like in Arab Hermeticism, there is a symbolic figure called the guardian of the threshold. This guardian appears every time the adept is about to cross a turning point on their journey, and he never comes smiling. He arrives with impact, discomfort, tension. This is exactly the sensation that anger awakens in us. It shows us that there is something that needs to be confronted, crossed, overcome. Think of the following real-life example. You're in a job that no longer nourishes you. The days feel the same, the tasks are repetitive, and inside you feel a knot in your chest every time you wake up. That knot is anger. Not against your boss, not against the system, but against the fact that you've ignored your own truth for so long. You don't need to argue with anyone, nor quit everything impulsively. The alchemical practice here is different. Write down everything that this anger wants to tell you, without judgment, but with deep listening. What do you feel you need to express but haven't? What do you already know you should have done, but keep postponing? Well-heard anger turns into clarity. Then move, not in a hurry, but with intention. Schedule a conversation. Reorganize your goals. Change your environment. Start something new on the side. Turn that energy into concrete action, even if small. In alchemy, this is the process of conjunction, when two opposites, in this case, repressed desire and accumulated frustration, come together to form a new element. It's not the anger that creates the problem, it's your paralysis in front of it. And that's why a simple and powerful exercise is transmutation writing. Every time you feel anger, before doing anything, write. Grab pen and paper and let it all out, no filter. It's not to publish, it's to release. Write until your hand hurts. Write until the emotion changes shape, because it will change. It always changes when you offer it a safe channel to flow through, and only after that, when the energy is no longer raw, you take action. But action from truth, not from defense. This is the hidden secret behind what many masters called right action. It's not impulsive action, nor inertia disguised as peace. It's action generated by a fire that has been heard, metabolized, and put in service of the soul. And once the energy starts moving, once anger becomes drive and clarity emerges through the tension, the true test of inner alchemy appears. It's no longer about feeling. It's no longer about identifying. It's about sustaining, because awakening strength means nothing if you don't have the structure to hold it. This is one of the most overlooked and most dangerous principles of the great work. In the language of the alchemists, the vessel is the sealed container where the whole process takes place. It's not just a physical flask, but a symbol of the adept themselves. It's the body, the mind, the energetic field. If that vessel is unstable, impure, or fragile, it can't withstand the heat of transformation. It cracks, it breaks, and with it, all the energy that was generated is lost. That's why many begin their awakening journey with enthusiasm, but stop halfway. Because they didn't build the vessel. They didn't cultivate containment. And without containment, there is no power. Containment is not repression. It's not about suffocating what you feel. It's about creating enough inner space for the energy to move safely. It's standing firm while everything inside you wants to explode or give up. It's breathing deeply even when the pressure rises. It's observing the chaos without identifying with it. In classical alchemy, this ability is called rectification of the vessel. The alchemist would spend days sealing the container, heating, cooling, testing its resistance, before even beginning the real transmutation. He knew the content is only as powerful as the structure that holds it. In real life, this vessel is built with small practices of presence, with energetic discipline, with simple but consistent habits. Getting good sleep, taking care of your diet, quieting the mind, strengthening the body. Choosing wisely the content you consume, the people you're around, the places you go, all of that shapes the walls of your vessel, and most importantly, respecting the cycles. Some days, the inner pressure will ask for stillness. Others, it will ask for movement. Alchemy respects timing. Forcing the process is like overheating a volatile liquid. It evaporates or explodes. There comes a point when consciousness expands, but if you don't have the structure to sustain that new level of awareness, the fall is even more painful, because the vessel breaks from too much light just as it does from too much shadow. That's why an old teaching said, "Don't approach the light before purifying your cup." That cup is you. The divine responsibility. You are the alchemist, not the victim. After so much inner work, after cultivating a strong vessel, sustaining the heat of the process without breaking, learning to transmute emotions without getting lost in them, something inevitable happens. You can no longer blame anyone, and that changes everything. Because when the alchemist reaches this point, they stop being someone searching for answers and become someone who creates the right questions. They stop pointing outward and begin to look directly inward, without escape, without disguise, without distraction. This is the turning point. Alchemy is not magic, it's pure responsibility. The deepest kind there is. Because it demands that you recognize that everything around you, absolutely everything, is a living extension of your consciousness. The world is not a stage, it's a mirror. If there's conflict in your relationships, the question is not, why are they treating me like this? But, what part of me still accepts less than I deserve? If there's a lack of money, the question is not, why is life so unfair? But, where in me am I still vibrating unworthiness, fear, or attachment to lack? Reality responds to your vibration like an echo that never lies. And that echo is sacred. The ancients called this divine responsibility. Because once a human being awakens, they are no longer a creature reacting to the world. They become a miniature creator, a living reflection of cosmic intelligence. And because of that, everything they think, feel, believe, and project returns. The universe doesn't judge. It responds. The universe doesn't punish. It reflects. This is the seventh Hermetic law, cause and effect. Nothing escapes this force. Nothing happens by chance. There is no luck. There is no misfortune. There is only vibration and resonance. If you vibrate in resentment, you attract experiences that make you relive old wounds. If you vibrate in self-blame, you sabotage yourself at the exact moment life tries to offer you something better. If you vibrate in greatness, you begin to move invisible forces that push you toward your purpose. But here's the detail few talk about. This shift doesn't happen just with mantras, affirmations, or prayers. It happens with positioning. You need to act as the creator of your life. You need to decide with firmness. You need to cut cycles with courage. You need to elevate your energy consistently. It's not enough to know that you are an alchemist. You have to live like one. And that means taking ownership of everything that belongs to you. Even what you swore was someone else's fault. Because as long as you point at the parents who made mistakes, at the traumas you lived through, at the society that limits you, you're still off your throne. And off the throne, you govern nothing. The spiritual throne is only accessible when you decide, with a steady soul, to look at all of it and say, "It was hard, but now it's on me. I will transform it." And that's when alchemy begins to operate on deeper levels. You realize that the pain was what awakened your fire, that the betrayal showed you where you weren't honoring yourself, that the lack taught you how to create. And you stop fighting the past. You start picking up the pieces, not to remember what hurt you, but to rebuild your essence with awareness. True transmutation is not about changing what happened. It's about changing the meaning you give to what you lived through. Because when the meaning changes, the frequency changes. And when the frequency changes, the world around you changes too. The alchemist is not someone with superpowers. They're someone who stopped outsourcing their own destiny, who understood that no one is going to save them, that there is no government, guru, soulmate, money, or miracle that can take the place of their own power to choose. And so, they rise. Not as someone who challenges the world, but as someone who remembers they have always been part of the divine. They don't ask for permission. They don't beg for change. They manifest it. And they manifest it because they've taken ownership. Because they know their mind, their field, their vibration are the pen writing the script of their own life. This is the most advanced alchemy. The transmutation of identity from victim to creator. And after the alchemist takes their place at the center of creation, something even more subtle and profound is revealed. Because it's not enough to decide with conviction. You have to sustain the new vibration until it becomes natural. Because you never manifest what you want with intensity. You manifest what you see as normal. This is one of the most mysterious secrets of mental alchemy, and also one of the most overlooked. The frequency of your current life doesn't change because you want another reality. It only changes when the new desired reality feels familiar, accessible, and natural to your consciousness. That's why so many people say they want prosperity, but keep creating lack. They want love, but keep pushing true connection away. They want peace, but live in environments that reinforce chaos. It's not because they don't deserve it. It's because, deep in the unconscious, there's still a vibration saying, "This isn't for me." And until that is transmuted, the universe respects it. Because the universe doesn't deliver what you say you want. It delivers what you vibrate as normal. That's where what we call the normality thermometer comes in. It measures how used you've become to the reality you desire. If, when imagining a grand scenario, your mind immediately says, "This is too much for me," you haven't adjusted the thermometer. If, when visualizing a deep, fulfilling love, your energy says, "It's too good to be true," you haven't yet integrated the vibration. And without that adjustment, the reality stays in the realm of desire, but not manifestation. That's why the alchemist practices. They train their perception. They expose themselves consciously to images, sensations, experiences, and thoughts that raise their sense of worthiness. They educate their vibration, not to force a reality, but to become compatible with it. Until one day, effortlessly, the new no longer feels distant. It becomes familiar, and then it manifests. But the true peak of the great work is not to have, it's to radiate. When the adept reaches this point, they understand that the journey doesn't end in gold, the gold is just a symbol. The true climax of alchemy is the philosopher's stone, and this stone is not a physical substance. It is integrated consciousness, the unified being who no longer operates from separation and now serves as a conscious channel of the source itself. The stone only appears when the ego bows to spirit, when knowledge becomes service, when desire becomes devotion. Because it's not enough to achieve. You have to share. What you transmute within yourself, if not offered to the world, becomes stagnant, and everything that stagnates corrupts. That's why true alchemists don't keep what they've attained. They teach, radiate, inspire, serve. Not out of obligation, but because they have become one with the very flow of life. And that's where gratitude becomes advanced vibrational technology. Not a surface-level feeling of, oh, thanks for what I have, but an internal state of deep recognition. Gratitude is when you understand that everything that came to you was necessary, that every pain was a disguised teacher, that every obstacle was a disguised step, that nothing was against you, everything was for you. And that's why the alchemist never blames God. They know God doesn't punish. God only reflects. Universal consciousness returns exactly what you project, not as punishment, but out of coherence. And so, the flow continues. Consciousness expands, the journey goes on, because alchemy is infinite. There is no final point in transmutation. There is only the next level. Today's goal is tomorrow's raw metal. And before you go, there's something very special waiting for you. An exclusive video has been prepared for you to take the next step on this journey. A piece of content that will go even deeper into everything we've talked about here and show you, in practice, how to apply this knowledge to your life. So don't leave just yet. Click the video that's appearing on the screen and I'll meet you there. See you on the other side.